So the way Podsqueeze repurpose the content is you just upload an audio file or you can use your RSS feed to fetch your episode. Podsqueeze basically generates a transcription, and from the transcription we can create all sorts of cool assets like Shownotes, timestamps, posts for social media, for LinkedIn, for Facebook. We can even extract interesting quotes, keywords, even title suggestions. So that's what Podsqueeze does basically.
Welcome back to Oh My Pod. My name is Justin, and I'm one of your hosts, along with Celine Albertini, my fiance. And today we actually talked to two guests. One was Joao Amaro, and the other was Tiago Ferreira. And they are both the co-founders of a company called Podsqueeze. And Podsqueeze, we actually use for Podigy as part of our process for producing episodes. And it's pretty much an AI tool that allows you to generate show notes, timestamps, newsletters, and more for your podcast with just literally one click. So it's an AI tool for podcasters that does a lot of the heavy lifting of the show note writing process. And it's super, super useful. I really hope that if you have your own podcast, hope that you're not doing all the writing yourself, because AI is coming and it's going to make a huge difference. And their website, Podsqueeze, their software is super affordable. And so I think that it's really good for independent podcasters. So I hope you enjoy this episode. If you would like to use Podsqueeze, you can actually use our coupon code, which is Podigy. So if you type in Podigy, P-O-D-I-G-Y at checkout, you'll get some kind of discount there. I'm not sure how much, but hopefully it's a little bit off of your receipt. And I really hope that you do go over and try them out, even just for a month, and see how much of a difference it makes for you. But yeah, so Podigy at the checkout. And yeah, just enjoy the episode. Okay, so Tiago and Joao, how are you guys doing today?
Very, very good. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. This is the first 4-person interview that we've done, and Riverside makes it pretty easy. So yeah, I'm happy that you guys were able to hop on. And you guys are co-founders of something that has radically shifted the way that we do our business and our podcast production. And so I'm pretty grateful for that. I know that you guys have competition. There's other companies that do it, but when I was sifting through all of them, I just naturally gravitated towards you guys. This is not endorsed at all either. Like, it's not like there's some type of like affiliate here. It's just straight up, you guys saved us. We did the calculations, and it's like hundreds of hours of work a month.
That's amazing.
Which is ridiculous, right? Like, I mean, it's even more than, depending on how many clients that we get for our business. It could be in the thousands, right? And that's what AI is doing. But it's 100%. It's cool to me that you guys chose to go into a market that's as niche as podcasting. I know podcasting isn't that niche, but it really needed, like, the space needs something exactly like what you guys are doing. So do you guys maybe just want to kind of riff on what Podsqueeze is and what your individual roles are in the company?
Sure. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about Podsqueeze and then about my role, and then João will follow up. But
totally.
So Podsqueeze in one-liner is a tool, an AI tool that helps podcasters repurpose their content. We know, being a podcaster myself, that it's extremely hard to grow an audience, right? I love podcasting. It's really a format that I'm passionate about. However, it's not fun when you have like just a few downloads per episode, right? So we know that it's extremely hard, and there's a lot of things that you need to do to expand your audience. And a lot of those things is social media and repurpose your content. But we podcasters, we just want to record, right? We love audio, we just want to record, and all the other tasks are super boring. So once we saw AI,
Preach.
and we looked at it and saw, okay, this is amazing, because suddenly, and there were some other tools before, like some transcription tools, but they were really far from being good. They were really, really bad. But then suddenly this GPT came along, and all these AI algorithms came along, and we realized, wait, now we can actually do something amazing. Because even if the transcription is not great, GPT is super smart, so it's able to actually understand that. So we thought, okay, there's a possibility now for us to help podcasters and as well to help myself to automate and save these hundreds of hours and help podcasters grow their audience by repurposing their content, because we basically speak a lot and there's a lot of great content that we have in our episodes, but then that content is lost for people that do not listen to our podcast, right? It's really hard to share audio on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, etc. So that's kind of the idea of Podsqueeze. We thought, okay, now we can help podcasters to save time and to really focus more in their content, and then we'll help them to grow their audience. And myself, I am an entrepreneur full-time entrepreneur for 2 years now, but before that I was a developer, worked for a startup, worked for more in the travel industry. And João and I, we know each other for 10 years or more. We're working always in our own project. We're both entrepreneurs. And then we got together in the beginning of the year, actually. So end of February is when we launched Podsqueeze. And each one of us has complementary skills. But João, now you can just tell a little bit more about your skills, I guess.
Yeah, just to add on what Tiago was saying. So the way Podsqueeze repurpose the content is you just upload an audio file, or you can use your RSS feed to fetch your episode. Podsqueeze basically generates a transcription, and from the transcription we can create all sorts of cool assets like Shownotes, timestamps, posts for social media, for LinkedIn, for Facebook. We can even extract interesting quotes, keywords, even title suggestions. So that's what Podsqueeze does basically.
It's so good, man. It's so good.
Yeah, and it also has a tuning box basically, which is a box in which you can interact with the AI and just ask the AI to adapt the content Podsqueeze produces to your liking. So you can ask the AI to make your show notes more playful, or rewrite it in first person, or basically match the content Podsqueeze produces to the voice of your podcast. Yeah, as Tiago was saying, we have been friends for more than 10 years now. We have always been entrepreneurs. The way we met was actually quite interesting. I was back then, 10 years ago, I was trying a new business. I have a course of I am a landscape architect actually. So I started as a landscape architecture, but I've always worked as a visual designer and always like to design new products. And even though technically I'm a landscape architect, my passion is with design. So I was creating a new product back then, some sort of vertical gardens. And Tiago saw an article about my vertical gardens on a magazine, and he sent me an email. I'm also yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm also a teenager entrepreneur. I was a teenager back then. We both were. Yeah, 18 or something.
Yeah.
Can we connect, etc., share some ideas? And so he sent me an email, and we have been talking since then. And a few months ago, Tiago proposed this idea. Let's do something together after 10 years of meeting each other and knowing.
Oh, so this is your first project together?
First, actually, it's our second project. So we started one called the Indie Lottery. We can expand a little bit more on that, but it didn't really work out. And as experienced entrepreneurs, we learned that when a product doesn't stick very fast, you have to kill it and move on. So after 2 months of some effort from our side and not seeing any growth for the Indie Lottery, we just killed it. We made another brainstorm. Podsqueeze came up, and we have been working on Podsqueeze together for the past 5 months. So my role in Podsqueeze has been basically as a visual designer, UX, UI designer. Normally my role here is to follow up with our users, see what are their needs, register their feedback, and trying to prioritize. Tiago also does that, but that's mostly my main focus. Also trying to do some work for social media and marketing and stuff like that. That's basically it.
There's a lot of overlap between what you guys are saying that you wanted to do with Podsqueeze and what we do with Podigy. And I guess like the first thing that I was thinking, if I was thinking from like the audience's perspective, what if they were somebody who was writing all their own show notes and they kind of like took pride in that because they wanted it to be quite like personal, they might say something like, well, I don't want this to sound like ChatGPT. I still want to keep the authenticity in my show notes. So what do you guys, what is the solution there? Is there a way to tweak the AI like by typing and tuning it? Are you able to tweak your show notes to sound more like you? Or do you think that at this point AI still needs a human touch to make it to do that last 5%? That is what we do. We do have a human touch to do the last like 5 to 10%. But what would you guys say to that as an answer?
So I think that's a very interesting question, because a lot of people, especially when AI just came along, a lot of people were like, hey, now everything is ruined. Now AI will basically write everything and all the content will be bland and with lack of content. So also one of the reasons why we liked Podsqueeze is because we are repurposing. So we are not saying and telling AI to just write the script or write everything. No, the information was created by a human. It's just being repurposed by an AI. With that said, right. Of course, that GPT has a way, like a standard way of writing things. So if we run a specific prompt for a transcription, normally it's quite smart. So sometimes also is able to understand from the tone and from the transcription. But yeah, it's kind of standardized. And the idea is that people can then use our tuning box to repurpose towards their voice, right? So that they can give a little bit of their voice, what they are looking for. We also have a way for people to save prompts. So you can try out a couple of prompts, you see which one works, then you save it and you can just reapply it for that podcast. So I think with that, we can, most people, and we did a survey recently where we asked how people were using our product, and most people were like you, Justin. So they basically said that they would maybe use Podsqueeze for 90% of the work, and then they would spend maybe 5 minutes to 10 minutes per episode to rewrite a few things, to use a prompt, to change maybe some spelling mistakes in the names. And I think that's how most people use Podsqueeze.
Yeah. Joao, do you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah, that has been our experience. I've also noticed that we have two types of clients. We have clients that really want to invest in the branding of their podcast and want to have their show notes very polished and with their own voice. And those people will likely spend more time fine-tuning the results for Podsqueeze. But they also find a lot of value in Podsqueeze because it saves them a lot of time since it already outputs something close to a structured
good
text.
point.
Yeah, but we have also a few clients. For example, we had a client who she was waiting for a tool like Podsqueeze to basically write the show notes for the hundreds of podcasts she has been recording for the past years. She didn't want to make that work herself, so finally she found Podsqueeze and she basically uploaded her entire RSS feed, and she basically just copy pasted because she just wanted the episodes to be found on Google, for example. So she just wanted to have show notes for all the episodes, to have a little bit some SEO advantage, and she didn't really care for the branding part of it. So it really depends on how much do you want to invest in your branding, basically.
Well, and I will add one thing for you guys as well into that. Which is that it doesn't really matter what you think about, like what your beliefs are about AI and whether or not it's going to be impersonal or not personal enough or whatever. But the feature that is the most useful for us is that Podsqueeze creates timestamps for every single topic that's discussed throughout the episode and breaks it up, right? So you can get like 10 timestamps or you can get as many as you want. I think you just keep asking it to do more, and like it's like ChatGPT, it does whatever you want. And that's something that really does not need to be in a person's voice because it's just informational. Like it's like, this is what's talked about here. It doesn't need to be all like flowery with the person's personality. So like even if you just used Podsqueeze for that, and also maybe the transcription, because you can't, like, a transcription is already the person's voice. It's their words. So for that type of, that is the bulk of what we use it for. So for anybody who would have, who wants to like upgrade their show notes, I mean, you see a lot of the top podcasters are using stuff like timestamps, and also transcriptions can be utilized in a lot of different ways. And just those two things alone are reason to go ahead and get a subscription and start using it. Like, it'll save so much time, and it does such a solid job. And we run a company, so our clients expect to get near perfection from our service. So yes, we take the last 10% into our own hands. Honestly though, I would give you guys even more credit there and say that one of the main things that our copywriters do is they edit the titles a bit, and that's because Podsqueeze isn't going to be able to go and search for this person's bio and find the most interesting fact about them to put in the title. Like, for example, we had a top 1% coaching podcast host on our show, and I wanted that to be in the title. But Podsqueeze, or AI, is not going to be able to generate a title about the person's biography and the person's accomplishments. So that's something that that we take into our own hands. But really, I think that, like, this tool, if you're an independent podcaster, like it's absolutely a no-brainer. And then you can also say, I'm already using AI, so I'm not going to get left behind. You know what I mean? Because AI is making everybody faster, and if you don't keep up with that, well, who knows what can happen? I mean, when technology changes.
I mean, I think for me, especially because I'm not English mother tongue, for me it has changed everything, because I had a really hard time. Like, I would have not been able to write on my own an article for LinkedIn, for example, because I just don't think that the way that I speak or the way that I write is actually the same as I speak. It's very it's a very easy English. I don't really use, yeah, exactly. You guys understand me perfectly. But now with this, it's so easy, right? Like, it's so easy for me because the AI already uses certain words that I would never think of. And then I do change stuff sometimes, but, I mean, for LinkedIn, I do change stuff, but I think the coolest thing is, like you said, that you can change things and make them make the tone of voice kind of different. Like, you can make it sound professional, make it sound a bit more exciting. And all of those things are really cool. So I will always use the same kind of wording whenever for each, whatever show it is, I will always use the same kind of wording. And then what I also noticed, what is really cool, I copy the show notes from Podsqueeze, as well to YouTube, to the description box, and the timestamps that Podsqueeze creates actually makes the sections on YouTube where people can just click on it.
Nice.
And that's so cool.
I did not even know that.
Nice.
So
that's so cool.
It's actually so helpful because podcasting, people mostly listen to the whole episode, so I don't think that people will skip to a certain part. They usually don't. But YouTube videos,
exactly.
People usually don't listen to the full YouTube video, so they will click on whatever topic they're interested in. And Podsqueeze does that. Like, the show notes from there will show you the topics, and you can just click on it, like with the little picture on YouTube. You just click on it, and it will show up. So that's so cool.
Oh, that's really cool. I knew that it did that for Spotify, but I didn't know it was doing that for YouTube as well. That's really cool.
It's super cool.
Me neither.
It's super cool. I noticed it, and I didn't even know it was going to do that, but it did it just by copying it. It YouTube does it afterwards. It's so cool.
Yeah, we also didn't know when we noticed that. I sent a message to João, look at this. It's taking our timestamps and creating little segments, and we immediately wrote a blog post about it. Hey, look what Podsqueeze can do.
Yeah, it's
a blog post.
Cool.
Nice.
It's super cool. I really love it. That's such a good feature.
Yeah, it's very useful for sure.
Yeah, we have been noticing that most of our podcast agency clients that use Podsqueeze also use a lot of those timestamps. They also have their in-house copywriters. But just the fact that the copywriters don't need to go through all the episodes,
oh my God,
sometimes they have like 1 hour long episodes to write about. They just can skip to what matters. They use a lot the timestamps, and it was interesting that you were mentioning the titles. Actually, that's a challenging a challenge I'm going to accept. I'm going to try to generate a title based on the guest bio. We want cool. One thing that we try to, when we generate our assets, we don't want to simply generate assets just because. Like we try to make a research for what makes a good title. For example, even we have written an article on our blog about it. For example, this is from science, from actual research. Titles that work best are titles, for example, that have a question. Are you ready to find out what, like, something that sparks people curiosity? Another type of title that works best is, for example, when you use numbers in your titles. For example, we've talked with João and Tiago, and here's their 5 tips for whatever.
How to get your first million.
How to get or when you use superlative words like the most interesting thing you can learn about whatever. These are actually things that Podsqueeze outputs when it generates titles. So it tries to understand what the context of your podcast and generates titles with this kind of structure. So, but now that you mentioned that, I'm going to accept the challenge and also try to incorporate one title based on the guest.
Right, because when you have somebody on your show who's like a rather impressive person, you want people to immediately know why this person is impressive. So, like the podcaster is a great example. Like I think one of the titles that was generated was, how to grow a loyal podcast audience. And while I think that that's definitely probably accurate of what we spoke about in the episode, would it make me click on a specific episode? Probably no, but like insights from a top 1% podcaster. You know what I mean? That's like probably 10 times more effective in getting somebody to click. And I read your blog post on titles, and that's like so important. I don't know the exact statistic, but I know that titles are like one of the like 3 things that makes people choose a
100%.
Yeah, it definitely makes me choose the episodes, but a lot of the time I click on it and then the episode actually sucks from like other people, and then I'm like, oh, the title was good, but no, I'm like, I
wonder what we should title this one.
I don't know.
We'll put it in the Podsqueeze.
We'll see what Podsqueeze.
Just put it on Podsqueeze.
Of course.
Of course. Like you don't have thumbnails for podcasts, so normally people would just.
You can also have an image for your episode.
We do that. We do.
We do.
Okay.
You guys will be on there.
Like the picture of you two. You will be on there. Your picture. Yeah. Whereas if it's just Justin and I, it will be just our normal logo. But usually we just put the picture of the people onto our.
But then, Celine, I have a question for you. If the title, so how can we avoid that experience of like you read the title and then you end up clicking on it, but then you don't like the episode? Is there something like can you just read the show notes or the timestamps? Is that a better way for you to figure out if you really want to spend the next hour of your life listening to that episode?
Well, I think it depends, because what happens to me, I listen to podcasts when I'm doing something else. So I will be either like walking, I will be in the car driving. So I will not have time to read the show notes.
Got it.
So me personally, I will not be reading the show notes beforehand because I can't. Like I'm literally driving; it's illegal.
Yeah.
Right. I will still find an episode though.
Right. So maybe listening to a quick summary.
I always start. Yeah, I start listening, honestly.
Yeah,
I start listening.
We put with our clients and our podcast, we put a snippet of like a highlight from the episode at the very start, so people can get a feel for like the best part of the conversation right at the beginning, and they can tell like whether or not that's going to be right for them. But I think like since people are, I guess it's on the host, it's on the podcast host and the podcast producers to make sure that like things are aligning and that also the episode is like interesting and relevant to what the title is.
For sure.
But
for sure. But of course, can I add something? I think what you guys said before, our copywriters used to listen through the whole episode. They did used to listen through on like a higher speed, but it takes forever. Whereas I don't think they listen through at all now.
Really?
They don't listen.
No,
I don't think
need
they
to.
listen through it. They don't need to. I think they just tweak. You know, some names are sometimes off. You know, because like names can be spelled in so many different ways. So names are off. And then they add in a short little bio of whoever the guest is, and then they just go through and see, you know, if it needs some tweaking and stuff like that. But I don't think they listen.
So for somebody,
don't.
Listening, like if you are going to use Podsqueeze, like from what I'm gathering from all of us here is that like it just depends on the type of show that you want to run. Like if you're somebody who just likes to like outsource and forget about it, and you're willing to sacrifice the tiniest bit of authenticity just for just for efficiency, then Podsqueeze is probably good enough to do 100% of the work. If you are somebody who is taking extra care in a branded podcast and building a community around it and wanting to keep things as authentic as possible, there's probably, I think the agreed upon number here is like something like 10 to 5% depending on the episode. But but yeah, like they said, like you can tweak the voice and then save the tweak so that every time it uploads in your voice, like right?
Perfect.
So this is the way to do the show notes. Like, and I really think that it makes a huge difference having detailed show notes compared to like a very tiny summary of the episode underneath. Like, I think that when I look at a podcast that has a very short summary, I just think lazy. That's all I think right away. I'm like, that's just a bit lazy, right? So this is like, if not having something like this is going to make it so that you just do like a 3-liner show notes, then just use this and just plug everything directly in. But
I would say so as well.
That would be my advice for somebody who's looking to use this. And I think it's perfect for an independent person because it's like, it's so cheap for how much time it saves you.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly that. If I had, if I was just Celine before Podigy, no idea about anything, and I just started a podcast, I would 100% just use this. Maybe save the tweak, whatever tweak I want, and then just check the names.
Yeah. Check the names and maybe tweak the titles based on
the
like
only
best
thing.
practices in SEO, like you guys said.
Yeah, but I would definitely use it because like for SEO, you need the show notes, you need the timestamps because you're just gonna be found. Otherwise, like if you just write a sentence, I don't know how do people find your podcast if you write a line? In your show notes. I don't think they do unless you're already famous.
And I've also found that the support while using it is good. Like I've reached out to you guys in the little chat box and I find that like, I mean, it's just pretty quick. Like if it's not, then you send me an email and it's, it all works out.
So basically what is fun is that, so João and I, as he said before, we tried many things before, a lot of projects. And then when we were trying Podsqueeze, we thought, okay, it's going to be another project. There's a problem to be solved for sure, but probably won't work because, we had a lot of projects like as together or like personally each one in our own projects that didn't work. So then suddenly the boost, the way it started was so different from any other project. A lot of people, they really wanted to use it. Even in the beginning, some things didn't work at first, right? And people, they would just spend even hours in the chat with us trying to figure out things and say, wow. And then, we started getting this first feedback of people, hey, I'm going to fire half of my team. And then we didn't know how to feel because, okay, I don't want people to lose jobs. At the same time, it's so, the time is saving. It's a great game changer. And then we started realizing that and it was incredible. And one thing, and João and I, we started having this feeling that, okay, it's only us two and there's a lot of competition, so we want to make sure that we have really good user support. That will kind of put us apart, and that's why we're always more in the ad first, but still, we have on our phones our user support chat, and we try always, if someone has feedback, if someone has something that is not going their way, we are either myself or João, we are there just answering them, collecting all the ideas into our Trello box.
Of course,
and making sure that we make the best product for our users.
So do you guys have have plans on for some like improvements or added features?
Changes,
or like do you see a lot of changes that are coming in the future, or are you kind of sticking to the things that you're already doing really well and improving those?
Yeah, we are constantly doing some changes in the product based on the user feedback. So there's always, like, we have a Trello board with like 1,000 tasks, and we have to just prioritize what to do next. Yeah. But like, just the small tweaks people are always asking for. It would be really nice if you could just sort the episodes by name or by date, or if you could just create a folder in, or it would be really great if you could also generate keywords or whatever. People are always asking for something new to add to Podsqueeze. But yeah, we have probably our main ideas after just this overall product improvement after introducing all these small tweaks would be extend this podcast repurposing to images and video. Probably that's something that is also snippets. Quite required. Yeah, snippets quite required from our users. Yep. So and also, this is not very related to the product development, but we are also working on our branding and our marketing. We have started investing some time in creating like a learning center. We have created an ebook very recently with tips on how to grow a podcast. It's an 85-page ebook. We have now finished a new ebook. It's a 95-page ebook about how to monetize the podcast. And finally, we started working on another ebook with tips and tricks on how to get the most out of Podsqueeze. As you were mentioning before, some people just are not really sure what to do with the content Podsqueeze produces. They are not really sure how to get the most out of their show notes, or the importance of having show notes, because it's very nice to have a summary of your episode, but some people are not really aware that show notes also improve your SEO and your discoverability and even the accessibility of your podcast. So we are introducing also a new ebook we are going to send to all new users on an onboarding email. Going through all this content that Podsqueeze produces, and with small tricks and tricks, tips and tricks on how to use this content. So yeah, we are working on our branding, improving our community, being very useful to our community outside of Podsqueeze. Also, the product itself, like trying to provide value to them, because we really like podcasting, and it's not like, for me especially. I believe for Tiago also, but I'm more like, Tiago is a developer. He has a very technical, rational mind. He likes to find the problems, solve the problems. I'm also that way, but I also have that. I'm like a designer. I'm an architect. I like the creative side of things, the intuitive side of things. I like the branding aspect of the business, like creating a nice design, a nice experience. So yeah, that's also a part of the business that excites me.
Of course, yeah.
And yeah, we are also investing on that part of the product also.
Very cool.
Oh, that sounds really nice.
Anything to add to that, Tiago?
Yeah.
I think João basically said it all.
Yeah. Yeah, so a crap load of things that
So, Justin, would you like to say how we complement each other now? You could maybe say a few nice words.
I think it's actually pretty similar, though. I probably am more like Joao.
Put it on the spot.
Yeah, I'm probably the Joao and you're the Tiago.
Okay.
Probably, yeah. Actually, yes.
Cool, Justin, you are the creative. Sorry, Celine.
He is,
because I'm also I'm a singer and a songwriter too. So that's like my second. Well, my other business, and so like writing music and singing are cool, hugely important to me. So that lends itself to being quite creative. That's and really cool. When you hop over into the business world, from being a songwriter, you're thinking about branding and the story and the sort of the groundwork, like the technical stuff is probably better kept to other people because it's just not like, well, it just kind of drags a creative person down. But yeah, I mean, I think that we've pretty much covered Podsqueeze. I was really wanting to get you guys on to talk mostly about Podsqueeze, although like I would have loved to also go like right into the startup side of things and how you guys actually did all that, but that's just not this podcast. That's probably more like your podcast, Tiago, Wannabe Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really wanted to just get into like some practical stuff about how AI show note writing worked and how people can actually like just start implementing it into their shows. I know that we have people who listen who are independent podcasters who listen to try and learn things about the industry. And I'm sure that you guys will get a couple of people from the episode hopping over to Podsqueeze. But also, it's just good to know that you guys are constantly developing. And like you said, you've got the ebook coming out on how people can best use the Podsqueeze, the stuff that Podsqueeze creates. So that's not cool. Created yet, though, that ebook, because that'd be a really logical like call to action that we can include if you had that ebook done already.
Yeah, it will be ready hopefully in about 2 weeks tops.
Okay, I think that's when this episode comes out.
It might be it might be exactly when the episode comes out.
Yeah, hopefully I'll try to have that ready by then. So far I'm finishing the How to Monetize Your Podcast, Make Money with Your Podcast. We have nice. Our other ebook, How to Grow Your Podcast, is already out. It's free. It's available on Gumroad. After finishing this ebook about the podcast monetization, I'm going to jump right off to the tips and tricks on get the most out of Podsqueeze. So hopefully it will be get ready in 2 weeks.
Yeah, great.
Nice.
And everything can be found on podsqueeze.com, correct?
Yeah, the ebooks are still not there. They are on our social media. So if people want to get the ebook, they can go to our Instagram.
Yeah, we will link.
They just type the Podsqueeze. The Instagram is very recent. It just has like 4 posts or something, but the ebook is there. So if they want to get the ebook link, just post a comment and we will send a DM with the link for the download.
Perfect.
Nice.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for letting us know like what's up with what you guys are doing, and I think it's super cool. I really love the business idea too. Like it just gets me super pumped to think about.
Yeah, I'm so impressed every time about stuff like that because I'm like, I feel so far away from like anything like in the tech world.
Yeah.
And so for someone to create something like this, I think it's just super cool.
And the future for you guys, I see a lot of, well, you guys must be excited about the future of the business as well. So yeah, but thank you for coming on, both of you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Justin. And also we really like to work very closely with podcasting agencies.
Totally.
So whenever you have like a piece of feedback or a request, just, send us an email.
Absolutely.
Just talk with us in the support chat and we'll do whatever we can to implement that.
Will do.
We really value like the expertise of people that are pros in the field. So.
Totally. Yes, we work very complementary to each other, so I'm happy to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, awesome.
Great. Thank you guys for coming on.
Celine, Justin, thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great chat.